So let's talk about the guy that actually shut the country down, and that is Chuck Schumer. And he then let the country down, let his party down, but I guess doing the right thing and allowing 8 people, I guess they're going to do it anyway, to cross the aisle and open the country up. 11 House Democrats, 6 Democratic Senate candidates, and some active senators have all called for his ouster.
Yeah, and remember, this is the same Chuck Schumer who said that shutdowns were the politics of idiocy. He was pushed by the far-left progressive wing of the Democratic Party to shut the government down, did not get anything. And what they wanted, the progressives, they wanted an extension. They wanted to force the extension of these Obama health subsidies. And look at what some of these Dems are now calling for his head, starting with Pramila Jayapal. I think he should step down. They should get somebody new. Yasemin Ansari. It is past time to start thinking about new leadership for Senate Democrats that meets the moment and the urgency we're facing right now. Chuy Garcia, I'm very disappointed in leadership for getting us in this juncture. I'm hoping he seriously thinks about stepping down. It continues. Ayanna Pressley saying we're in an unprecedented moment that begs a larger question about new approaches and new leadership across the board. Finally, Representative Maxine Dexter of Oregon saying it's up to the Senate to decide, but I'm certain a lot of folks in my district are looking for a change in leadership.
Well, Sean Hannity, I don't know if you saw it last night, but if you watched his show, you saw that interview with J.D. Vance. And Sean asked him about a myriad of things, but one of the things he asked him about was Chuck Schumer. And should he keep his leadership role? This is what J.D. Vance said.
Chuck Schumer, this probably ended his career, and he was the person who was fighting more than anybody to keep the government shut down. So the far left, they're never going to be satisfied unless the Democrats are willing to burn down the entire country. Luckily, there were a few moderate Democrats who allowed reason to prevail. We have to step back, Sean, and remember how crazy the demands were. They wanted $1.5 trillion, a lot of that health care benefits for illegal aliens. They wanted us to undo all of the great border policy that we've been doing. They wanted us to refund, like you said, NPR and PBS. They were basically saying that we want the far left's priorities to dominate in the Trump administration, and unless that happens, we're going to set the entire country on fire. A really disgraceful moment for the far left of the Democrats, and frankly, a very revealing moment for the American people.
He mentioned the money that the Democrats wanted to prevent the shutdown. If you give us $1.5 trillion, then we will not shut down the government. Republicans said, are you crazy? Because you always talk about this. It all goes back to the Affordable Care Act, which wasn't affordable, that essentially no Republican voted for that. It was a Democrat platform. They pushed it. The idea was to mandate young people to buy insurance. And then the dollars from those premiums would go to help the aging public, the ones that really needed the care, the older people. Well, then that was repealed, remember? So the young people didn't have to buy into this. So they didn't have the money to pay for the older people who were a part of Obamacare.
Yeah,
that's why it failed.
Yeah, that's a great point. I also think that if you look at Chuck Schumer, you know, he's miscalculated. He miscalculated when he abandoned Israel. He miscalculated when he did stand up to those anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic protests on the college campuses. He actually was a non-factor in Mondami, never weighed in for or against. He could have said, Cuomo's my guy. They say that one thing that you should do as a leader is try to protect your Democratic colleagues. He never protected them against the left because he was afraid of the socialists on his left. So therefore, he exposed them. Therefore, he doesn't have their loyalty. Remember, it was his genius idea to filibuster Gorsuch, at which time the McConnell turned around and said, OK, we're going to use the nuclear option. Now a simple majority okays people like Kavanaugh and Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett, which might have been something that in the past our party might pull a candidate back from. These are all miscalculations by Senator Schumer.
And who replaces him? If they throw him out, is it Elizabeth Warren? Like what more progressive senator is going to be in the middle of it?
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.